The Thokk WeaponMaster Glove. It's been a long time coming. Is it epic?
Who knows? We're about to find out.
Hi and welcome back to the Academy of Historical Fencing. I'm Nick Thomas.
And I'm Michael Thomas.
So the Thokk WeaponMaster Gloves, they are the 5-finger heavy glove that the HEMA world has been waiting for quite a while. We've had our hands on them and used them extensively now for about 8 months, something like that.
Seems ages and ages, but yeah, we have.
We've had them for a good while, so let's get into it and see what we think of them.
The very first thing, the reason it's taken us a while to get this video up is we didn't want to rush into it. Loads of other people had already done initial sort of early looks at these gloves. We wanted to really give them a good pasting, find out, you know, what are they like long term. So we've tested them in absolutely everything, so I think we know what they're like now.
And when we did our order, we got about 25 pairs, was it?
I think it was exactly 25 pairs.
So yeah, 25 pairs, and they've gone mostly into the HF and a few other clubs like Jordan Mock in Academy of Steel. So they've had use extensively in our clubs and for a few other people that bought them within our order.
And in terms of the ones we ordered, all but two, I think, were the standard model, weren't they?
Yeah.
Which is the WeaponMaster Gauntlet Pro, which is the 350 Newton model. So almost everybody bought those, and then we've got the two of the 800 Newton.
Yeah.
I forget what they're called. They've got a slightly different name. So we got a big pile of them, and we've tested them with pretty much everything I think we have.
Yeah, I mean, this is intended to be a heavy glove. You know, it looks small because it is. It's very slight and it's nice and light. And people were concerned that it just looked like like a motorcycle glove or a leather glove. It isn't that. It's actually quite a complex composite of different materials and is quite protective in so many ways. And so this is intended to be used for everything in HEMA in terms of medium to heavy weaponry. So that includes your arming swords, sabers, long swords. It's designed for all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's very much the kind of the marketing one that right at the start, wasn't it? Is that this is the glove so that you won't need to buy another glove, unless maybe you wanted a mitten or something really light for small swords and stuff. But it's supposed to be the glove that will do everything,
and actually give you a 5-finger glove that's suitable for your open hilt sabers and long swords and arming swords. Because again, people have been using mittens for all these years, and mittens are good in their own right, but come with some issues. Particularly in terms of dexterity and after all we are doing unarmoured fencing in almost all elements of HEMA that we do, and so we want a glove that most closely represents unarmoured fencing.
Yeah, you ideally want a glove that is like not wearing a glove, don't you?
Yeah. So
you can just hold a sword without a glove, but we like our fingers, so we can't. And okay, we're gonna have to do a jump in there.
That's fine.
Which bit do you want to go for first? Do you want to talk about sizing first? Talk about the sizes we ordered.
We started with protection on the other one. Let's go protection.
Okay.
Because that's the one they're going to be concerned with.
Okay. I'll ask you and then.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the protection?
I think it's been for the most part really good. It's more than kind of any other 5-finger glove that I've really used except Pro Gauntlet, because that does have a lot of protection in it. But aside from that, it's the most protective 5-finger glove that I've ever used, and most significantly, having crush protection on the fingertips is a huge leap forward for HEMA, because we're so used to using Red Dragons over the years that look like an armoured glove but have no crush protection to the actual digits. So that actually having solid fingertip protectors as well as various other materials built in has given a lot of protection.
Yeah, and in terms of that, just knowing how the actual glove is put together, it is a two-part... Can I take this apart?
Yeah.
It's a two-part glove, so the protection Nick's talking about, so the that sort of extra fingertip protection, it's not part of the outer glove, it's part of the actual inner part. So you've got this kind of thin... If I can actually get it out... we're going to have to put this back in.
Incidentally, putting these inner gloves in is a nightmare. Everybody thinks the glove is too small, and it feels it, because getting the inner glove in initially is just really awkward, and it takes a lot of fiddling to get it to align correctly to the outer glove.
So in terms of the way they're kind of put together, these are sort of like your trousers, and these are your underpants, in terms of the way it fits together.
I don't wear armoured underpants for sure.
So you've actually got now, bizarrely, this is actually a really nice glove now. So you've got this really lightweight, I suppose, sort of cut-proof outer glove. But it's got these extra plates and bits, and then nice grippy inside, but nothing else. There's no kind of padding. There's no hard protection for the fingers. So that's the outer part, and then you've got this inner piece, so an inner glove, which kind of looks a bit weird. And you can't really use it on its own. Some people, when they first came out, wondered, could you use this as a separate glove? Well, you could, but I'm not quite sure why you'd ever want to.
No.
So if you look at this, let's bring it a bit closer, it actually just looks like I'm wearing a black glove. So maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. But it's just a very thin fabric glove that has soft protection running the full length of the tops of the fingers. And does it any on the sides? None on the sides, so it's all on the top. Plate here, and then you've got your hard, as Nick was saying, your hard sort of fingertip thumb protectors, which are very much like the Spez fingertip protectors, although they've got a slight lip hanging down underneath just to drop under the finger for a little bit more protection, and they are fitted into the glove, so they're not sort of free floating. They are part of it. So you've got that glove. And we watched loads of videos where people get these and they sort of just do this and and it's all ready to go, which maybe that will happen now. But when we got these, they were basically half of our fences were on the floor fighting and pulling to get it all to fit together. So it's
So you can see the idea of this composite glove is you've got non-Newtonian materials inside that are designed to be impact resistant. You've got hard elements protecting key areas like back of the hand, base of the thumb, tip protectors and things like that. You've got the leather, you've got cut-proof or thrust-proof materials. So it's designed to be thrust resistant and provide crush protection to all of the different weapons that you might use in HEMA.
Yeah, so first impressions, you look at it, it looks like there's a lot of good protection on there. You think in terms of impacts from heavy weapons, thrust protection, so you're not getting things kind of piercing the glove, tip protectors, so you don't get the dreaded black thumbnails. So, overall, it ticks all the boxes, doesn't it, for the protection that you should have. How did you actually find the protection with yours? As opposed to the way it's supposed to be, how is it actually?
So I, for the first 5 months or so of using them, or just under, I had no injuries whatsoever. I took a few hard blows, particularly when using, say, katanas, using Siggy Forge and Black Fencer katanas, swords that hit hard and have almost no hand protection. Particularly to the pinky, I was finding stinging blows, but it kind of faded really, really quickly. There was no injury, so actually the protection was working really, really nicely. And as a result, I didn't take any damage, and I was quite happy with that. But
I sense there was a but coming then.
That is unfortunately, yeah. We've had these gloves for about 8 months, and just sort of under 5 months in, I had a catastrophic failure of the thumb plate, and that is where this thumb plate here along the top is a single piece, and it's a bit like the kind of flexible knuckle plate. It is a sort of a semi-rigid plate, and it completely just disintegrated. It's exploded inside. You can feel that it's in many different component parts now, and that did some severe damage to my thumb. I don't think it broke it, although I've now still got like a raised bone section on the thumb there.
So that's almost like an upgrade to your thumb, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got extra armour there.
I have got extra armour, yeah. And that was severe, and it wasn't that heavy a blow. That was using a Black Fencer 1803 steel sabre. It wasn't that heavy a strike. It was, one of our club members who doesn't hit excessively hard. I suspect that it had already given way during a previous impact, and I hadn't noticed. Because I don't think the blow that did that damage to my thumb was the one necessarily that broke the glove, and I think it could have been far worse. And unfortunately, that plate having gone means that this glove is now no longer at all usable and will have to be patched or repaired or replaced in some way.
So although there's a plastic plate inside, it's basically a sealed piece of fabric, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got another one in the back here. Which you can, if that broke, and if there were parts available, you could sort of pull that, take the back plate out and put another one in, couldn't you?
Yeah.
But when it comes to this one, on the thumb, which you think is an area where you're quite likely to take hits around here, if that breaks, there's no way of changing it, unless you actually are prepared to modify the glove by slashing it open, fitting something else in, then maybe having to stitch or glue it all back down.
Yeah, it's sewn into the outer part of the glove, so you cannot access that plate from the inside or the outside. It will have to be opened up and replaced with some other insert of some kind.
And it's not just you, is it, that's had that problem?
No, it was the first one that went in our club, and now we've had 4 others.
We've had more than that now.
More than that. So it seems that they kind of got to a point, I don't know whether it's number of hits or age of the material in terms of brittleness, but at some point they just started going.
We have had, I know we've got one person, they just got the glove out, did this, and it went crack, and it just snapped straight away. So others have used them a lot. I've used mine, and all my plates are intact. My personal gloves, I've done about 550 fights altogether with them, so they've had really heavy use. And my plastic plates haven't broken yet, so I don't know if I have the magic plate. I suspect not. It's just one of those flukes. But we have had quite a few failures of these, and it's not a kind of a replaceable part. So there's not an easy solution. And we have been in touch with the manufacturer and in the process of getting them sorted out. But, it basically means they've got to go back and either be repaired or replaced. It's not sort of just like swap out a piece.
And that is frustrating because, that's 3 months ago, just over actually, that happened, and still trying to get it repaired, replaced, or whatever else. So that is out of action unless I want to try and repair it myself, which
I wouldn't do that.
I could, but I know I don't have the materials that are matching that. It would be a bodge job. It's not really what I want to do. And there are 2 other issues that I've had with my personal gloves.
Okay.
Of which the first thing that actually happened was this split here.
That was quite early on, wasn't it?
Yeah. I don't know what caused that. I just noticed at the end of a sparring day, in fact the hole was significantly small. It's about half that size initially.
Yeah.
It looks like maybe a thrust had snagged it, but I wouldn't like to speculate too much because, again, none of us noticed how it happened. But yeah, certainly this material, which was, it's supposed to be obviously a very resilient, tear and thrust-resistant material, split open and has continued to split further open. Now that's far less of a concern than the thumb plate because this is an outer fabric and it's not a protective layer. But we've got plastic under there, we've got other materials underneath.
Yeah, you can see it underneath, can't you? The hard shell.
So
only up to there though.
Yeah, and so I actually did fully intend to just basically glue that back down, but the reason I haven't is because the thumb then broke soon after, and as a result there was no need to because the glove isn't useful to me at this stage. So that was the first issue I'd had long before the thumb, and the other issue I had just before the thumb broke is the material on the inner thumb has gone completely, so that I can actually...
It's on this one as well, actually.
Which is strange because I don't use the left anything like as much. So actually the thumb has gone completely through on the inner and outer glove. So that's basically where I'm gripping sabres especially, and just the wear, maybe rapiers as well and side swords, the wear of the inner glove against the sword has caused it to wear through. So that was not through hits or sword blows or burrs, that's through abrasion against sword grips or guards.
And if you look at that one, you can see the material has gone quite bubbly, and then it's got holes right through it there because it's worn down.
And that's more surprising because I don't use my left Thokk an awful lot because most of the time I'm fighting, one-handed swords or maybe longsword, and longsword shouldn't put so much wear through them.
No,
I haven't been doing that much offhand work recently or left-handed fighting, so as you can see, it doesn't even feel fully broken in that glove actually.
No.
So yeah, in terms of my personal gloves, I had 3 failings, of which the thumb going through obviously means that there's no longer a full protection in terms of cuts and thrust protection from blades, like burrs and things. The outer one, less of an issue, but yeah, the catastrophic failure of the thumb is a big deal.
Okay, excuse me. And in terms of my gloves, these are both Nick's gloves, but in terms of my gloves and sort of any injuries, I've taken no injuries, but I have had 3 sort of concerning hits. The most recent was when we were doing some spy-hander and polearm fighting. So this was actually on my left hand, so I had the thumbs facing each other, so I had the staff was up and I was fighting, and I took a hit to the outside of the wrist here, on the... Yeah, right, sort of around about here. So just, yeah, right there. So you can see this kind of it's not hardens, but there's like a padded piece here, and then just the inner glove. So I was holding the glove up here, which if you're using a longsword, you might have cut, brought it around, gripped it, half-sworded to strike. So it's not something unique to polearm. You might have brought the hand up here, or you might have had a dagger and you brought it up, and the sword comes in. And it was a synthetic bill that struck just here, and there's no protection other than the actual kind of stab-proof part. Or you haven't got this kind of padded piece, you haven't got the plastic, and there's no extra padding material. I don't know if you can feel it on your one there.
Yeah.
But it's just very, very thin. It was just like getting stabbed into the hand, straight underneath, and that was coming in here. And if you clench the fist, you can see that there is this bit around here, not an awful lot of protection. Now, on top of that, there was also... Let's have a look. I'll just find it. Can't find it now. Yeah, on the lead finger here, if you go behind this kind of knuckle, there's a point right here where there's no actual protection. I don't know if you can feel it on your one there as well. So on there, sort of that bit there.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
There's just nothing there. So I'm pointing these out because these are kind of hard-won lessons. So you've got these nice hardened plates here, another hardened plate there, but then there's just no padding here. So I took a hit. It was synthetic, so it was no more than just basically it stung for a couple of days. But if you get hit between those 2 points, you basically got stab-proof material and not an awful lot else. If you come to the side, basically the hard layer stops there. So anything below that point doesn't have any kind of significant padding protection. And I've heard anecdotally from other people that have been hit that there are these kind of points just occasionally on the side where there isn't sort of complete protection. So you've got a plate or padding, and sometimes neither. So it doesn't come up all the time, but it's just something to consider. That you've got these kind of areas. If you were, say, going full contact steel, if I'd been doing that and I got struck here, that is really going to hurt. I'd be surprised if that didn't cause some mischief, maybe even a break. So just something to bear in mind.
And last thing, in terms of durability, we did also have some stitching sort of quality control issues, didn't we?
Yeah, we can't really show that here because these are okay. But if you look at this particular glove, hopefully you can see on the camera. You can see with the way it's stitched around here, so the way it curves around, and we've had that stitching on a number of gloves just come completely apart. And one of those was the more expensive one, wasn't it?
Yeah, and also at the base of the hand along here as well.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's all stitching, isn't it? It's all where the material joins another piece.
Yeah, yeah. It's either the stitching's broken or perhaps the material's pulled away because it's too close. The stitching's too close to the edge. I'm not quite sure, but there's either a durability or a quality control issue there where they've just opened up.
Yeah, because I know the 800 Newton ones. I think it was the 800 Newton. That basically tore on the first day, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I can't remember who it was that bought them, but he put them on. I think Spard did one fight, and it had already started to pull away on the stitching. So overall, there are a few durability issues in terms of stitching, and the real concern, of course, is these plates that are they're significant parts of the protection. In fact, when we first bought them, the back plates here all had to be replaced. Now we were told once they'd shipped that they would have to be, didn't we? In fact, they arrived without the back plates, a lot of them, and we had these replacement ones sent because the original ones were just shattering all the time. So this is presumably a different type of material, but some of them are still failing. Assuming that this is the same material, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
It might be maybe the old material that's in them. But have we had any of these plates break?
No, we've not had any back plates because we got the new version and they've been okay.
Okay, so maybe all the rest of the bits are the old plastic, so maybe that's why they're breaking. But who knows?
So in terms of protection, I found them, aside from the few material failures which need to be addressed, and you obviously found a few gaps here and there. Aside from that, I found the protection really good.
Well, yeah, I've basically been using them as pretty much my only glove since we got them.
Yeah.
I've just got, it says about 550 fights in them with every kind of weapon combination you can think of. And whether they're a perfect glove or not, if I'm going to fight somebody, they're almost always the glove I grab. I just get the Thokk, slap it on, let's start fighting.
So overall, in terms of protection, aside from the failing particularly as the thumb material, which has been a problem, obviously it put my glove out of action. Aside from that, and Mike has obviously mentioned a few little gaps here and there in terms of protection, I used mine for 5 months for hundreds of fights, and they were my go-to glove for any time I needed a medium to heavy glove, which meant basically everything except small sword and rapier. And in that time, they served me really well. Go-to glove, really excellent. Do you think?
Yeah. I'd agree. I just keep pulling them out. There are a couple of things you've got to bear in mind. A lot of people seem to have issues with the length of the fingers. I think a lot of that is often where the inner glove is not fully seated properly. So you need to put the inner glove inside, and then you've really got to give it a good pull. Make sure those fingers are going right to the end. If they do that, like if you look there, there's no movement now, so my fingers are pushed right into the tip protectors. If you don't have it quite fitted right, so your fingers are a little back, sort of pull back into the glove, then what will happen is when you pull the fingers down and then go back up, your fingers will go underneath the tip protectors. So now the tip protector is actually behind my fingernail, and that's because it isn't all basically pulled into position right.
Yeah, you've got to just keep tweaking it. Like, use your other hand and hold the fingertip protectors and drive the inner glove further in. You've got to really work it in. You've got to get the inner glove right to the tip of the outer glove.
Yeah, you just spend a few extra minutes when you get them, really giving it a good pull, making sure it all goes in nicely, nice and tight, and I think that will get around any problems that you get with the fingertips. But yeah, don't just kind of put the inner glove in, just kind of get it there roughly and then try and use the glove. And you may also need to just move your fingers around, because where you have the inner plastic sort of extra protection around the fingers, you might need to just give them a little squeeze, twist, make sure everything's all seated sort of nicely, so you can move the fingers and nothing kind of digs in.
So to finish off on protection, because overall therefore very good. Besides a few material failings, protection has been good. There is also the badass add-on.
I thought you were just talking in general about the glove.
No, the add-on, which people obviously ask about because use it for longsword and that kind of thing. A few of our members bought them. We didn't. Clearly, the protection that it offers is good. But the durability of the component parts that holds it together, basically the straps that hold it all together, have failed on most of them, and they've had to be basically patched up. So a bit of a weakness in the design there. Even though when it is working correctly and the straps are done correctly, the protection is quite good.
So this badass piece, because we don't actually have one, so we can't show you. But it's basically like a sort of a small extra cover, isn't it? That kind of straps over the top and gives you that bit of extra protection, which I think is kind of recommended if you want to sort of do full contact or sort of tournament level sparring with sort of steel longswords. But as Nick says, I think we had some people where they kind of broke and the straps came off as soon as they fitted them.
Yeah.
And they just, in general, the opinion of them wasn't great. So it's the kind of thing where I think it needs a slight redesign in terms of, well, especially when it comes to, say, the durability of the way it all kind of fits together, so it doesn't fall apart, because it's going to take the brunt of the impact. It's going to catch on things and pull and move around, so you don't want it ripping off.
I mean, for me, I didn't buy them because I didn't want the bulk of the extra component for running with sabres and side swords. And it does come over the thumb, which get extra, base of the thumb protection, which is good for longsword, but gets in the way of side swords and things like that. So I didn't want it. And personally, if I'm needing more protection, I would just go to my mittens from, HF.
Yeah, it also kind of spoils, when it's just in terms of aesthetics, it spoils the shape of the glove, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You've got this kind of quite funky designed glove. It's almost like a Wolverine sort of hand, isn't it? With can have the different colour fingers on there. So you've got all that nice stuff, and then you've got this kind of extra plate, which it kind of looks like it's being shoehorned onto the actual glove.
Yeah.
So in its current form, not really recommended, that part. Whereas the basic glove overall, as long as you haven't got any sort of structural failures, is a pretty solid glove, isn't it?
Yeah. So protection has been really good. Besides, a couple of material and quality control issues. And so if we go on from protection, what in terms of design features, what do we like and not like about them?
The size is really good. I know we talked about this before, but how small it feels on the hand. A lot of these 5-finger gloves can end up feeling really bulky and they don't really fit into anything. I think this has got to be one of the smallest in terms of how close it is to the hand.
Compact and light.
It's really tight around the hand, isn't it? Yeah, there's not much weight to it at all.
It's like a red dragon in terms of weight. It's very, very light, which is excellent because most heavy gloves on the HEMA market are very heavy. So this is half the weight or less. And that is a big deal because, again, we want the glove to feel like we are doing unarmoured fencing. If you've got a glove that is as heavy as a basket hilt, why don't you just use a basket hilt? That kind of idea. So, in terms of weight, bulk, all really, really good.
And yeah, because compared to a red dragon, even that it's a much sort of thinner glove, isn't it, than a red dragon?
Yeah.
Because you think you've got those kind of extra sort of plates and bits fitted on there as well. Just overall, the whole thing fits really nicely to the hand. I'm saying that if you're looking at buying a pair, I would heartily recommend that you find somebody that's already bought a pair and try them on, because the sizing was a little bit weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I measured my hands when I placed the original order. I think I was on the 9 centimeters on the width, which puts me most definitely into the medium-large category. But when they arrived, it was just way too big, and I think a lot of people found that they'd ordered a size maybe a little bit too big. So I ended up going for medium. So instead of going for the medium-large, I went for the medium. I'd call the medium-large really more of a large.
Yeah, I would say so.
So if you can, and obviously not everybody can, but if you know anybody with a Thokk, try their gloves out first, especially if they're broken in, so you'll know exactly what they're like. And use that to decide which glove to buy. I'd be wary of just doing the measurements and then throwing the money off into the post to get them.
And there's not a huge amount of margin for error on the sizing, because if you go too small, you're really going to struggle with them. A little bit too large you'll get away with, but they won't necessarily bend and flex in the way you want. And also, your fingertips won't necessarily get far enough into the tip protectors to give you the protection that you should be getting. Because if your fingers don't go to the ends, you are not getting the benefit of the full tip protector, and you're actually getting crushed on the mid finger point. So it is important that you get them fitted as best as possible.
Yeah, that was a concern. So when my medium-large gloves arrived, and I did that, every time I did this, my fingers went straight underneath the tip protectors, and you can't do that in a fight. You can't sort of deliver a strike, come back, and then go, oh, I'll do a quick adjustment, and then get back in again. Whereas the mediums, I didn't have that problem. I sort of got the medium, pulled it, went into position, it felt absolutely perfect. So definitely check on that, because unlike a lot of other gloves, you have to have a really good fit with these to get the correct protection. I suppose in that way, a little bit like the Pro Gauntlet, isn't it? Is you've got to, if it doesn't fit quite right, then it just doesn't work properly. Your finger's going to push out underneath tip protectors.
Yeah.
So you've got to get a properly fitted glove.
And because it's so nice and compact, again, something I really love about the design is it does work for everything that you want to use it for. So every side sword, which is a real difficulty getting side swords to work with heavy gloves, works perfectly. Every ball hilt saber, every stirrup hilt saber, everything that we've possibly considered to use it for, it has worked in. And so that shows you just how compact it is. It is basically the most compact 5-finger glove on the market. I mean, maybe the sparring glove 5-finger is a little bit more compact in the fingers, but that's bulkier on the back of the hand and the base of the thumb. So overall, this is the most compact heavy glove that there is, and that's what I really do appreciate about it.
And nice and grippy on the inside as well.
Yeah.
Like the 5-finger, the sparring 5-finger sparring glove. There's lots of things we like about them, but the grip was never one of them.
No.
They were never very sticky on the inside. In fact, they were quite slippery. And this has got this it's like a mesh layer underneath, and even putting your finger on it, it feels quite sticky, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like rubber on the inside in terms of stickiness. And then you've got this softer material on the fingers, so it does grip really nicely.
So in terms of design, overall, I really like the design. Things I don't like, the cuff. I don't understand at all why it is incredibly short on the inside and incredibly long on the outside. It needs to be matched a lot more closely. So it needs to be a short cuff or a long cuff. It doesn't have to match exactly, but I don't understand this relationship. And basically,
it's like a little flap you got
going
on there.
That tends to, and it keeps flattening down all the time because it goes in the bag and it flattens down, and it kind of it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's slightly annoying. And then it's quite large in terms of when it moves around. It's a big cuff, and yet the inside, it's short and lacks all this protection. So I just don't understand why we didn't go all short or all long or something in, or all medium, which actually I think would be better, is to go somewhere in the middle and balance off the front and the back, or let's say the top and the bottom. So that cuff, again, it doesn't irritate me too much, and I haven't suffered with it that badly, but it's a slight irritation, which I just don't think really fits the glove particularly well, and especially as when this is all so compact and sleek, this all kind of is like a gigantic sail. So I don't think that cuff, particularly the outer, is at all that ideal.
No, it does come out quite wide as well, doesn't it, looking at it there?
Yeah, I mean, when I'm sparring with it, I don't really notice it too badly, so it's not the end of the world, but I just don't see the point in having it that long there and that short there. Better boost the protection here and make it less bulky here. That's my feeling on the cuff.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we think in terms of price? Because there's prices. It's important, isn't it? You only have so much money to spend on equipment, and this is not it's not a glove that's going to replace all of your gloves.
So what are they? About €275, something like that?
I think so. I am. It'd be best if you check the pricing because I don't know, things are in such a state of flux at the moment. Whatever price we say, it'll probably would have changed by the time this video comes out. But they are on the pricier side. They're not the most expensive glove out there. They're about sort of 2/3 of the way up, aren't they? In terms of pricing.
Basically they are the high end besides Pro Gauntlet because that's a big jump again.
Yeah.
But if you take them out of the equation in terms of pricing, they're kind of up there at the high end, aren't they?
Yeah. So what did you think they were?
About 275 for the base glove, I believe.
275 euros. Okay. So 275, and then the Red Dragons are about 70 or something. So it's a huge jump up from a Red Dragon. You could buy many years worth of Red Dragons. Not that they might protect your hands, but you could buy lots of them. So yeah, there isn't anything really, is there, in terms of sort of similar pricing?
But there's also nothing really similar. There's not been anything similar in terms of doing the job that this does, of course. Because if you use mittens for your open hilt stuff, that's fine. But when you want to have something more resembling actually an armored fencing 5-finger glove that you want to use, whether it's longsword or saber, there's nothing really that does the job quite the same. We've both had sparring gloves, which kind of did the job, but had some major issues. They're the only glove that we had that did the job, and they have done it really well. For me, apart from this catastrophic thumb failure, has done the job really well.
I suppose the issue with that is that you can spend that kind of money on the glove, but if it dies that quickly afterwards, you can't go and buy another pair, can you?
No. Which I suppose brings us round to our kind of conclusion is in terms of what do we think overall then, rounding it all off.
Well, the first thing is in terms of mobility, fit, and kind of use for sparring. You don't use it for anything else, but use in sparring, it's really good for all of those, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a reason why we keep going back to them and using them for almost every kind of fight. Is that maybe they're not perfect? Well, no, they're not perfect, but they're good enough for the majority of things you're going to do. I think is probably fair. Yeah,
and a huge step up from things like Red Dragon and other lightweight heavy gloves.
Well, yeah, if you use a Red Dragon, even with tip protectors for say reasonable level steel longsword, you really are sort of taking a huge risk with your fingers because they are going to break.
Yeah. So yeah, they're a huge step up, and they're doing the job that we always wanted. A 5-finger universal glove that has protection, mobility, and is lightweight to do all the different weapons that we do.
And then in terms of, say, build and sort of durability and price, I suppose they all kind of come together, don't they?
Yeah.
And personally, I'd say if they didn't have the durability issue or some of the durability issues that we've had, then the pricing, I think, is quite reasonable for what they are.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely the price is directly related there to the durability. And for me personally, I'm 3 months and 1 week into having lost this glove from the thumb and no closer to having it, replaced or repaired. And I've been to countless events since, as well as our own, regular training throughout the week. So I've been without these, and that's kind of a problem. They're excellent until obviously they fail, and that's been an issue.
So they're like an Alfa Romeo.
Yeah. And so fantastic glove, but some of the basically the failings, basically catastrophic material failing of the thumb, especially that's just knocked my glove out of action completely, is a big issue, which needs to be resolved because we've obviously been losing lots of these thumb plates, and that needs to be sorted.
So overall, we like the glove. We think the price is reasonable. If those kind of durability and maybe quality control issues can be resolved. So basically like a Thokk 1.1.
Yeah.
So just a few minor sort of improvements. It might even just be just on the manufacturing side. Who knows? We don't know. But once those are sorted out, a really good glove. And one we just keep coming back to.
Yeah, we've never had anything like it, so it's done a really good job. But yeah, definitely it needs a few more developments to sort a few teething issues out. Definitely.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough.
Is that everything?
I think so. So if you want to find out more about them, I think you can buy them. Can you buy them direct now from Thokk?
I believe so. Yeah.
Just it's THOKK is the maker. You can see it on the glove there. So pop along to Thokk, check out the website. You might even have some new products by now. There are 2 versions. We should have mentioned that. There are the 2 versions that you can buy. They got really weird names. So the standard one is the WeaponMaster Gauntlet Pro, and then the other one is some kind of blade proof. Is that what it's called?
Something like that.
It's the WeaponMaster Blade Proof something or other. Not the best names, to be honest. And it should just be
Standard and Pro.
Yeah, the WeaponMaster and the WeaponMaster Pro.
Yeah.
That everybody would understand then that the Pro is going to be better because it's got Pro at the end. So yeah, and maybe call the first one the Sport.
Yeah, Sport. Yeah,
so
stripped of features.
Yeah, that would have helped. But the only difference is the Newton protection, is the Newton rating.
Yeah.
So in terms of the overall glove, the 800 Newton glove doesn't give you more sort of padding, or sort of, that the hits don't hurt as much with the 800 Newton. It literally is just about the penetration, I suppose, isn't it? And you think that's the 350, and that was penetrated, wasn't that?
Yeah.
So, but then I don't know, would the 800 Newton have stopped that? Do you reckon?
Who knows? And is this part supposed to be Newton rated? Surely that's inside the glove. Don't know.
That's a good question.
Don't know.
Questions we do not know the answers to. So yeah, check out the website, and they have resellers around the world. Again, best to go to Thokk, and then it'll say on the website where you can buy them. And if you've got any more questions about them, pop them in the comment section, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Okay, well there you have it. Really good glove, with a few obviously caveats, which a lot of products on the market do have. But yeah, we've had a lot of good use for them, aside from a few failings. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so.
Yeah, why haven't you? Just go and do it. Go and press it right now.
Do it.